patience, just getting ourselves organised here. Welcome to our panel session about charity tax and where next. We're conscious of a general election next year, so there's an opportunity to perhaps put some points of view, and some sector bodies have already started doing that. But we wanted to give you a chance to air some of your views about that. We've got some experts with us here today to help us with that. So firstly, on my right is Graham Elliott, who's with Withers LLP. He's a VAT specialist, but also has been working with the charity sector for a very long time. So he's pretty knowledgeable about gift aid as well, and does a lot of very technical advice for a whole range of charity clients. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's enough.
And then on my far left is Richard Bray. Richard has been in the charity sector for a long while, having been in the professional, in KPMG, I believe, was your professional background. So is responsible for tax at Cancer Research UK, but also has his hat on today as the Deputy Chairman of the Charity Tax Group, which is a group that St Vincent supports and is very keen to ensure that they help the sector to get better tax treatment for charities across the board. And then on my left is my partner and colleague, Helen Elliott. She is not only a partner in St Vincent, working a lot with charities on their VAT, tax and other issues, looking at things broadly from a business and management point of view as well. But she's also a trustee and treasurer of the Institute of Fundraising, so she's got that hat on as well today. Okay, so thank you to all three of you for coming along today. At this, I'm going to let our speakers just tell us a bit about their thoughts for the sorts of things we should be paying attention to first. And then we thought that I'll tell you a little bit about the tax survey that some of you have been taking part in, and then obviously open it up for discussion. So Helen, you're going to tell us a bit about the Institute of Fundraising view to start off with.
So the Institute of Fundraising has a manifesto that they've put out of what they'd like at fundraising for the next election, and so I'll tell you about the tax side of it, and you can go away and read the rest another time. So a few things in there. So they would like to improve payroll giving and make it easier for employees to do it, so there's a better take-up and perhaps be able to move it better from one employer to another. It's a good way of donating to the sector, but not enough is raised that way. Then quite a few charities now you can do text donations. There's currently a £10 cap on that, which isn't very much. And perhaps more distressing, very few charities do the gift aid on those text donations. Obviously it's quite complicated, isn't it, to do text donation and then a gift aid declaration. And there's also the issue with the phone companies who have all the records and whether they will supply those to you in enough detail so that you would survive a gift aid audit from HMRC. So there's quite a bit of work to be done there to try and sort that out. The next idea they have is, shall we say, that we have at the IOF is a little controversial, but I'll just put it down on the table for you, and that's about corporate gift aid. So when a company gives your charity a gift, it's already gross. And so you don't claim any extra tax, but they get tax relief at source effectively. Now for older people like myself, we remember when the gift from the company to the charity was net of tax. So the company actually had to fill in a form and pay over the tax to HMRC. They gave the net to the charity, and then the charity claimed the tax back again. So everyone thought it was completely wonderful when you didn't have to do that anymore. Companies were more likely to give because they didn't have to do all this tax business. However, whereas before they might have given you £100 and then you got the tax back for say £25, when that became the gross amount, they still gave £100, and so the charities got less overall. Okay? So the IOF would like a way of getting it back up to that previous level again. But it would involve extra paperwork, we're looking at simplification, so that's why it's a controversial area, let's say. They also, IOF would like the government to think about letting you have gift aid on society lottery tickets. Now, as everyone who's just been to the gift aid talk will know, if you get a benefit back, and in theory you can win a lottery if you buy a ticket, which is a benefit, then you wouldn't have gift aid. But they're saying, well, you know, if you're contributing to a society lottery, really you're just making a donation, so why not have gift aid? So that's one idea. They would like the gift aid small donation scheme to be expanded and wider, because if you just have one charity and not lots of community buildings, you really can't raise very much from that, and the take-up's been a lot lower than the government estimated. And then the last one, probably the most popular with all of us, is to have a shorter gift aid tax statement. And there has been some research done by Cancer Research UK, I think with the Charity Tax Group, with sort of focus groups, that has found that if you had a shorter statement about whether you're a taxpayer, that people would actually understand it and be much more likely to get it right. Because at the moment, some people see this long, wordy thing about all these different taxes and just go tick when they're not a taxpayer. If it just said something nice and short and sweet, they would get it right and only tick if they were a taxpayer. So we need to keep going with that.
Thank you. So Graham, do you want to, you're going to focus on VAT, as that's your
Indeed, I'll focus
big part.
my big part. Yes, I'll focus on VAT, but what I want to stress, ladies and gentlemen, is that I'm not actually speaking for anybody but myself. So I'm rather selfish. I'm not even speaking for Withers LLP, who barely know I'm actually here today, and let alone an organisation, but I'll give you my views anyway. I was interested to see the sort of questions that have been asked, to which we'll no doubt get feedback, but one of the things that commonly comes up is just the burden of VAT, the cost burden, the sheer fiscal burden of VAT, beyond all of the administrative burden. And I think, yeah, we obviously should be looking at asking government to reduce those burdens, but before you put that on your manifesto, I ask you to consider putting this on your manifesto to unlock the real possibilities there, and that is to get the UK out of the European Union. Now, personally, I don't want that to happen because of a whole range of things, but unless the UK leaves the European Union, it can do very little to reduce your tax burdens, because the reliefs that you have are cast in stone, some of them as holdovers from the 1970s, which we enjoy and other countries don't, so actually we're fortunate, such as the relief for zero rate on printed material and certain charitable building projects. Others are exemptions which are cast in stone at the European level, and unless we change them as one of 20 umpteen states, we're not going to be able to change that. And we can't have a standard rate which is different for supplies to charities as opposed to a standard rate that's for normal supplies. So if we drop the standard rate to the minimum under European law of 15%, it would have to happen across the entire economy, and of course that means a loss of charitable revenues, a loss of tax revenues. So just think what's realistic. I'm not saying be grateful. Well, might be we should be. Actually, we do quite well out of VAT tax breaks in this country in the charity sector, but at least work within what is feasible. Now, that said, we know that there is a mindset in the government of the UK and HM Revenue and Customs of gold-plating every limitation that the EU throws up. And what I would put on my manifesto, therefore, is that the HMRC side should constantly come out, bleatingly as they often do, oh, we can't do that. That's a problem because the European community, the European Commission wouldn't allow us to, because they'd interpret us as infringing the limits of what we can do. All too commonly, when they come out with that, we can lock it down on a legal basis. The most recent example that many of you have heard of is a direct mailing issue, whereby we're told that European law doesn't stretch the zero rate beyond the actual printing of a package of zero-rated materials to the actual delivery of that package. I venture to disagree with that in most circumstances, but HMRC have come out basically saying, sorry, it's not us, it's just the law and we're confined by European law. Only in this country do we ever get that wound up to our own disbenefit. And I think that HMRC has got to look for ways of making these exemptions and reliefs more easily accessible in interpretative terms. And the cost-sharing exemption that you've all heard about, what a disappointment. We can't seem to set up structures that work for the cost-sharing exemption. Why? Because HMRC, in their infinite wisdom, have applied a way of doing it which is probably far stricter than other countries, under the basis that European law doesn't allow them anything different. So I ask HMRC really to look at that kind of thing. And the other thing I want them to look at is not taking new, clever points to maximise revenue, which are novel and which nobody can ever have plans for. The direct marketing example is an example of that. 2 years ago, the Direct Marketing Association asked them to confirm a position which was the norm for what we did. They took 2 years at the end of nagging to get back to tell us we were completely wrong. It's a new idea, although they try to pretend it's the way they dealt with it all along. And that is destabilising the way we can plan for what we do and how we do things. And another one is VAT recovery. HMRC are launching an argument, and I know this from personal experience, to the effect that if the VAT on your costs exceeds the value of the charges you make on the supply that those costs are for, then you will end up not being able to reclaim all of your VAT. And many of you make taxable supplies at a highly subsidised level because you get donative funding to cross-fund that. If they succeed in this, which I can assure you is very unlikely in my view, they will stop you claiming all of your VAT in those legitimate circumstances. Yet again, another novel idea. What to do to maximise tax raising to create uncertainty, or in a sense, let us say, the uncertainty doesn't seem to matter to them. They just want to maximise tax revenues. And so I say to HMRC and their officers, who often go after charities like bulldogs, trying to get them some way or another, relax a bit, try and work with the charity community to make the rules that can be made work for them. And then finally, I would say, two final things. One is HMRC is becoming increasingly very difficult to get any rulings or commitments out of on scenarios. One of the points up there is to do with what is sponsorship and what is not sponsorship. They just won't come off the fence because they're afraid of avoidance schemes, etc. It's a paranoid attitude. Most times you write to people, to them to deal with, is this going to work? If we do it, they come back and say, we won't tell you that because you're an avoider. And that is a very poor attitude. Most of the people just want some degree of certainty. And finally, really finally, you may not know this, it's highly technical, but it's very important that the First Tier Tax Tribunal, which is our independent court of call when we disagree with HMRC, cannot hear issues to do with the behaviour of HMRC, where HMRC has misled you to your disadvantage in various ways. They can only hear points to do with legal interpretation. And you had to take full-scale judicial review action in order to get redress where you have suffered a loss from VAT advice given by HMRC, which was wrong. If you think the adjudicator can help you, she can't, because she can only give you a consolatory payment for inefficiency. So judicial review is immensely difficult, terribly expensive. There was an opportunity a few years ago for the First Tier Tribunal to be given effective judicial review powers, and they should have been given it, and it was flunked. So my manifesto also has that on it, to ensure that the First Tier Tribunal can hear cases which arise from the behaviour